Good morning, Mo'av Rabotai. Be'ez Hashem, Mincha is going to be 7:05. Please be on time. Silichot is going to be 6:35. 6:25. I'm sorry, 6:25 Silichot. 7:05 is Mincha for the rest of the week. As we continue in the Halachot of Eruvin, now we have to discuss more Halacha Lema'aseh, the Eruv regarding Brooklyn, major cities, Queens, Los Angeles, Miami, these big places. Can you make a Eruv that encompasses these types of cities? Manhattan, of course, would be a good example of this. And we're going to discuss the Shita of Moshe Feinstein, Zechet Tzadik Livracha, the Gadol Ador of America of the last generation. And he wrote extensively in Igrot Moshe about making a Eruv primarily in Brooklyn, but also in Manhattan. And I'm going to try to condense his Shita into a few short minutes, even though his Shita is full of tremendous depth and spans over many tshuvot. With Siyata Dishmaya, we're going to try to, as best as possible, depict his philosophy. And I'm going to ask Mehila from Moshe Feinstein if I didn't exactly nail it on the head, but I think this is as close as one could get. In explaining his Shita, if you read through all of the tshuvot that he wrote on the topic, essentially, he holds of a pretty massive insight and hidush that he proves from various places of a concept called Mahaneh Israel. Mahaneh Israel means the encampment of Am Yisrael. He goes through how in the desert, where we really essentially everything is learned out from Am Yisrael leaving Mitzrayim, he says it doesn't make really that much sense that 600,000 people would pass by any given street. And he learns that that's not the pshat. The pshat was that 600,000 people passed by the streets. So if you take the unit of streets that Am Yisrael had, the network and the grids that they were aligned with, all of those streets put together, if you count all of the Jews that were there, that was 600,000. Not any given specific street on any given day. And therefore, he learns from there that if you take the shi'ur, the measure of Mahaneh Israel, which was 12 mil by 12 mil. If you look up that comes out to Parsas 4 mil, 12 mil. 12 mil by 12 mil, which is the equivalent of modern day times, is about 8 miles by 8 miles. If you square 8 miles by 8 miles, he says, if you have 600,000 people traversing the streets at any given time in that area, in that, let's call it Mahaneh Israel, then all of the streets combined are called a Reshut HaRabim. Essentially, how many people would you need in terms of population to get 600,000 people on the street? He said times 4 and times 5. He seems to learn you need 3 million people. If you have 3 million people in any given population in that square miles of 8 by 8 miles, that is called the Mahaneh Israel. That means every single street and cross street in that area is a Reshut HaRabim. So long as it's more than 16 amot, it will be defined as a Reshut HaRabim, and therefore you cannot make a Eruv. This is the reason why Moshe Feinstein rejected any Eruv in Brooklyn, any Eruv in Manhattan. The reason he rejected, he says, even if you take a small subset, you want to take a Flatbush, you don't want to put a Eruv around Ocean Avenue, you want to put it away from Ocean Avenue, it doesn't make a difference. This is the misconception people had. They think it was Ocean Parkway that it was his major issue. It's not the truth. The major issue was the whole entire Brooklyn is viewed as a Mahaneh Israel, and you cannot make a Eruv. They even asked him, Rabbi Steinberg and others from Queens, Sheyechiyeh le'orech yamim v'shanim, he asked about making a Eruv in Kew Garden Hills. Does it fall under the same problem as Brooklyn? And he said Kew Garden Hills does not have that numbers, is not grasped to be that populated, and therefore you can make a Eruv in Kew Garden Hills. So it's very fascinating. In his actual tshuvot, in Igrot Moshe, it was a landmark decision distinguishing between Brooklyn and Queens that he was totally fine and actually approved and encouraged Eruv in Kew Garden Hills as long as the Rabbanim of the community are fine with it, and not in Brooklyn. So we're actually living in the tshuva of Moshe Feinstein. Our Eruv in Hillcrest is an extension of the Eruv of Kew Garden Hills, where Moshe Feinstein went on record. And essentially all of America, where they make Eruvin, they base it on the heter he gave to Kew Garden Hills. So it's mamash a landmark thing because he paved the way for many of the Eruvim in America, and we're like living in that question itself, which is pretty special. But either way, it comes out according to Moshe, there's a distinction between Brooklyn and Queens. Brooklyn is considered to be very understood as very condensed, and it's called the Mahanei Israel, and therefore Reshut Rabim, you cannot make Eruv. And the same thing is true for Manhattan, the city Koshiken, can't make Eruv anywhere in the city. But when it comes to Queens, Moshe Feinstein clearly did allow it, because he did not view the streets as a Mahanei Israel, and he said therefore an Eruv could be made. Now the only question remains is, where do us Sfaradim fall under this whole entire category? Do we hold of this Rav Moshe Feinstein? Do we not? B'ezras Hashem, we'll discuss that tomorrow. Baruch Adonai le'olam. Amen.